But that was about to come out so crazy. What's good, y'all? Sin 17 back with another stream. Bro, I need a prize. I'm on here 3 days in a row. 3 days in a row is actually good for me. Even though you know. I'm actually doing good, though. I told y'all, I'm not playing around with my life anymore. Really not. Not even joking.
10-play, 46-yard drive. They need a lot more than that. This drive started at the 6. Maybe 38 to go, no timeouts.
I'm in like 3 different group chats and all of them funny as hell. Damn, why my head look like that, bro? It actually don't look that bad, though. It's not that bad. No, it isn't that bad. I'm sitting there watching this weekend. Football. Ain't no shit for real. I just be watching shit when I get bored. Just put anything on the background noise for his little tail self. I got a dog, but he still be getting on my nerves. Like, why is he right here in this room full of stuff to do? Gotta get him some more toys. Ain't that right, bro? Hey there, little man. Hey there, little man. Hey there, little man. Hey there, little man. What up, baby? Alright. They see you, bro.
Of the Rust Belt, there's a relic of an American icon, which transformed public health and saved countless lives.
He looking at me like, what the hell did you just do? Say what's up to the folks, Bo man.
Back here was like
Ain't that right, man?
I miss this place. And honestly,
Ain't that right, little man? Ain't that right, little man? Say, I got a big old head. I'm a little fat boy. Say, I'm fat boy, Bo.
We're in Easton, in the heart of Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley. This used to
This
be
my
one
little
of
bro
America's
right here.
biggest
Quit playing with
economic
it.
hubs, and traces of its former
Okay.
dotted
Time to get
all
off.
around the area. Among the remains of heavy industry, one derelict structure
Oh, shoot.
catches the
Good
eye.
thing he got good reflexes.
Interesting things happen here that are historic
First things first.
in the United
Let's
States.
change the fit. I should have never wore these.
Manufacturing of a critical and important product.
This is a classic early
And
20th century
sports
industrial
gear.
building. High ceilings,
I swear these is
enormous
leggings, bro.
floors, everything held up by massive concrete columns. But there aren't a lot of clues as to exactly what was made here. Yet, on the roof, there's a remnant of the building's past.
Could be the largest cup in the world. And this cup.
Let me see if I can switch this off real quick.
Today, this building is cold.
I probably gotta go on Restream and do it.
But when Bill
I do
Adams
it.
first came here at age 11, to him, it was more like a Willy Wonka wonderland.
First time I walked in this factory was October 7, 1970. They had a family night. We walked through the plant. All I remember was the cups going through the chutes, flying everywhere. For a little boy, yeah, it was magical.
Bill was witnessing the manufacturing of an American institution. It's fair to say that if you were alive in
And
America
it's just something
during the
else.
mid-20th century,
What
then
music
it's
we about to
pretty
listen
likely
to?
you'd have drunk out of a cup made at this factory. At its peak, 6 million disposable cups a month were made here. This is the Dixie Cup Factory. Yet its origins can be traced back to the early 20th century, a time of death and disease. Throughout human history, people have been getting sick and dying from diseases without knowing where they came from, especially as people started to collect in big cities. of the worst things that was happening was the sharing of drinking cups. Literally, hundreds of people would drink from the same glass or metal cup on trains, at schools, or at outdoor water fountains. To fight this transmission of disease,
Get out the
a lawyer
trash.
called Lawrence Llewellyn came
Man,
up
he looking
with
for some napkins to tear up. The only reason why he had tissue is because I was sick as fuck. I was down bad for like a day and a half.
He tinkered and tinkered with this idea, and he came up with a way to fold a single sheet of wax paper
Oh,
in
shit.
order to create a leak-proof cup.
I was supposed to be going to the bank.
Llewellyn christened his invention the Health Cup,
Let me in.
but there wasn't a market for it
Oh my
until
gosh.
America was in the grips of the world's deadliest global pandemic. In the Lehigh Valley, this factory was built to save the lives of Americans after over 500,000 died during one of the
Sit down, bro.
emergencies. The 19
Oh yeah. Doing too much walking around. You know, I don't like when people doing all that. They keep doing too
The
much.
death toll brought the newly invented health cup to the forefront of public consciousness.
Everyone was very concerned about catching the disease, and so the health cup became enormously popular.
Yet despite the health cup's success, its owners didn't want to limit its market to just medical use. In 1919, the company changed
There we go.
and
I tie his little toes down. Like, dude be walking around my room too much. I don't like all that.
it would now be known as the Dixie Cup.
I think I actually gotta edit
Trying
this,
to make
bro.
the cup seem like something
I don't think I edited this one yet. Nope.
The man ruled, and in
They said it was
1941,
the
production
thing.
moved to the
So while I'm over here, I'm gonna just do this.
in the Lehigh Valley.
I ain't been to House in a minute.
His father's footsteps. Bill began working here 6 decades later, age 21.
I needed a job, so my dad
Move,
go to
bro.
the
Now I'm irritated.
Then I went to
Like-
no shit.
What's wrong with bro? Why wouldn't he get out the way the first time?
The factory had become famous for far more than just drinking cups, as the company had taken advantage of one of America's favorite foods.
Oh, this should have
During the
something.
1920s, America had a new love affair, and that was with ice cream. In fact, sales of ice cream went up 40% between 1920 and 1929, and Dixie wanted to get a slice of this action.
When you look at a Dixie cup, it seems like the simplest thing, but the company realized that if they made a slightly shorter version of their cup
Actually,
design,
I'm gonna do it like
you could
this.
fill that little cup with ice cream. These one-portion ice cream cups took America by storm, thanks to a revolution being kindled in the offices here.
This is the 4th floor of the first wing.
I'm so discombobulated, I don't know what to do first.
Here, this was their offices. The executives always had wooden panel offices.
These walls gave birth to some of the greatest marketing campaigns in American history.
With a little imagination, you can use a Dixie cup for practically anything. A leftovers cup.
These guys were geniuses in marketing. They pioneered a lot of things that we think of as very common today.
A borrowed cup of sugar cup. There are so many things you can do with disposable Dixie cups. You might not have any left to drink out of.
Yet perhaps the real marketing genius
I don't know if I won that
on the cups.
or bought that.
It featured Hollywood stars, sports heroes, and made children excited to purchase them.
When I started, you could stand down there, you could look up here, and you saw nothing but Star Wars across P&B. I'll never forget that.
These marketing campaigns dreamt up here made the Dixie Cup an American institution.
It's one of the only examples where the product became famous not for the product, but for the container it came in, the Dixie Cup.
Despite the success,
It's always XP or
perhaps the
chips,
most
bro.
iconic advertising idea was on the factory itself.
On the roof of this building, where you would normally see a large water tank, you see a massive replica of a paper cup.
The giant cup was like a beacon. The thing with the cup, which was most synonymous.
Y'all could kept that shit.
Even if you didn't work here, you knew when you came down a highway and you saw that.
Not 500,000, we could do some
You
talk.
knew that was home.
But no one could have predicted how the giant cup would become the town's savior.
In 1955,
I mean, 750,000. I just realized what I said. Y'all probably like, damn, bro, you dumb as fuck.
$1 billion worth of damage.
I remember cars being flooded, submerged, seeing a house coming down the river.
Right.
The
Thought so.
Category 3 hurricane leaves much of the East Coast without power and fresh water. For survival, the town of Easton turned to the Dixie Cup factory.
Here was that water tank on top of the Dixie Cup factory. It contained 50,000 gallons of clean water, and that was a real resource for the community over the next couple of days.
It's kind of ironic that this giant replica Dixie Cup ended up doing exactly what the original Dixie Cups were intended to do: provide fresh drinking water.
Over the following decades, this much-loved building went from strength
Oh my gosh. I swear I did not even hit that shit, bro. Like, be for real.
with the emergence of plastic cups.
Well, they couldn't bring the plastic machines in here because of the ceilings are high enough. So they decided to move the stuff to the plastic plant up in Forest Township.
In 1982, this factory produced what would be its final Dixie Cup. Today, all that remains of this mecca of manufacturing are its concrete columns and floors. But these industrial features,
Bro, look, and I be like, bro, this my owner, bro. Meet me at the whoop. Meet me at the whoop.
The future plans of the building are to create a multi-family apartment complex. And it could
Meet me at the
be
whoop.
450 apartments. Every unit
Mm.
would have
Wait, hold on.
8-foot windows. The hallways would be defined by the
Let
columns.
me deposit this first. That would be much
The
smarter.
renovation of the Dixie Cup factory is an example of how Lehigh Valley is becoming an ideal commuter town for booming Philadelphia.
Perhaps after the renovation, the building will once again become the heart of a community.
We knew everybody. We played football together. We did everything together back in the day. The factory was like the lifeblood of this area.
Macy's Great Gift Set is the best place for last-minute gifts, like up to 60%.
Everything else is ugly.
Learn to have all fragrances and cashmere. Come in, experience the holidays, and walk out with everything on your list at Macy's Great Gift Set.
That's good.
Abandoned structures hold the secrets of America's past. A sprawling campus, witness to unspeakable horror.
This place was set up with the very best of intentions. Unfortunately, it turned into a hellhole.
A decaying
Good.
suburb which redefined
there's some
national
of that.
labor relations.
People there
Oh, right
are moved
here.
by the history and the narrative and the mystery.
And crumbling structures that
There's
withstood
this one.
an attack on America's shores.
they were scared to death. So sure enough, the next night, they start shooting up into the sky because somebody saw something.
Scattered across the United States are
Oh, that shit fire, I ain't gonna lie.
forgotten ruins of the past, monuments to a bygone era.
Ew.
Each shines a light on the story of this land and its people.
Oh, why?
These
Ugh.
are
I'm
the
not gonna lie, that's
secrets
ugly.
of hidden America. On the outskirts of the Windy City lies a suburb full of dilapidated structures, which defined America's industrial past and shaped its future.
Where we are
I think I got
now
one.
is 13 miles from
I
downtown
got a dark
Chicago.
holographic one.
When it was built, it would have been a distinct and separate community.
We're in an area that seems maybe suburban, except as you get close to it, it's clearly not an average modern suburb.
People that come to Chicago and stop here are always surprised. It's like stepping back into the past. It's just wonderful
think I
to
got
live
it,
in
man.
a rich historical place that attracts new interests, new culture. This is a little slice of old school Chicago.
As the nation's second city moved,
Green, brown,
this place was built with a plan in mind.
blue, pink. Oh, this looking tough.
These elaborate red brick buildings, they're very grandiose, they're very ornamental.
Ooh,
And they're
I ain't gonna lie, I don't know which one.
You can see that they're all designed together.
The bones of old construction leaves clues as to when and why this place was founded.
I see the date 1889, which is the height of the Gilded Age of Chicago.
So many
In the
options.
later 19th century, Chicago was the gateway to westward expansion. This community was at the center.
I don't think I got a pick one, I ain't gonna lie.
National Parks Assistant Superintendent Susan Bennett has been handed a unique opportunity with this project.
I was very excited to be the first person assigned to this building as we were beginning to develop it. The stories that happened with the company associated with this town, starting in the 1880s all the way today, still show up in our headlines every week.
In the 1880s, the railroad industry really exploded across the United States, and particularly in Chicago. And it was associated with an industrialist named George Pullman.
Pullman was originally an engineer. He built his career helping construct Chicago,
This shit about to
creating solid foundations in this wet.
final product about to be tough.
He then took the fortune that he made and reinvested it. And his new business was called the Pullman Palace Car Plant.
Pullman set up this company to overcome one glaring problem of early train travel.
George Pullman took a couple of long train trips and realized how totally uncomfortable it was and thought there was really a space there for making something comfortable for travelers.
Pullman
I
designed
got everything,
special
yeah.
compartments with flip-down beds, so you could sleep when you wanted to, and then you could put them up and you could sit easily and move about the cabin.
Spoiler, transmission turbo,
The Pullman car was born, which became eventually
lights.
kind of standard of luxury travel for railroad passengers, not just across the United States, but across the world.
Fueled by the booming demand for his rail cars, George Pullman decided to build a carriage works and staff accommodation on 4,000 acres just outside Chicago. This is the Pullman factory and
lights.
company town.
The town of Pullman and its design and its original and vision was a fabulous place to live and work.
Pullman really cared about the moral,
What the hell
physical,
is
and
that?
intellectual well-being of his
Oh,
workers.
neon kid.
So this town
Neon color.
was going to have a library, a church. He wasn't just trying to make better workers, he was trying to give those workers better
Say
lives.
this.
Pullman established a monopoly on the sleeping car market, and demand for labor led him to make some progressive decisions.
By 1900, African Americans were 40% of Pullman's workforce, which means that they were pretty violent. These were maids and porters, many of whom were formerly enslaved or were first-generation free men and women.
At one time, the Pullman Company here in Chicago and nationally hired more African American workers than any other business in America.
But when the Pullman Company faced its first economic shock, a series of bad decisions would almost start a revolution.
There's also a dark side to company towns in that they're constructed to keep all the value of the workers' wages within the system. So sure, you get dedicated workers, you get a library, you get a canteen.
Like literally just got this bitch
you
out
also
the
spend
thing.
all your money at the company store, and part of your salary goes into your rent.
At the end of the 19th century, failed harvests and overextended railroads led to an economic panic. The Pullman Company faced its first crisis and decided its workers would take the hit.
In response to the crisis, Pullman sacked some employees. They lowered wages by between 20 and 30%, but they left rents and the prices in the company store exactly the same.
And so he said, we will not negotiate. So the workers walked off the job, the gates behind us were shut, and the great 1894 Pullman strike began.
But the local strikes that began here at the Pullman factory soon became a nationwide problem.
More and more trained workers around the country struck in solidarity. And by the end of the Pullman strike, 125,000 workers
Shit, might as well remember while I'm down here.
with the Pullman workers. And it brought absolute chaos.
As the strike grew, federal mail deliveries were stopped. President Grover Cleveland's response would be brutal.
The LA-19 project is very cool because when you conquer, you can push your limits. I'm juggling 35 trillion complex tasks a second.
Fuck is we going? Breaking. Oh shit. Wanna play me like a Nintendo 64? Put it back in shit DR. Wanna pack my shit in? Shoulda knew you were the.
In 1894, a series of strikes that started here in George Pullman's company town paralyzed the American economy.
In Chicago, the conflict turned violent. Railway workers on strike destroyed hundreds of railway cars, and the troops on the ground responded by opening fire, killing 30 workers.
Where everybody else at?
After the military crackdown, the rest of the strikers lost their nerve and were rehired by the Pullman Company on the condition they did not unionize. But the company's African-American workers were heavily discriminated against.
Despite the
Damn.
role they played, workers were often mistreated. They had to put up with a
Hella people shooting at me right now.
And many passengers would simply.
What's the heck? What the fuck is the whole point of the armor? And this shit disappears so damn fast when you get shot. Like damn.
On the cars, they did get a wage, but they weren't paid very
This nigga's everywhere.
to survive and thrive. They would have to hustle.
As soon as you kill 4 niggas, here comes 16 more.
Decades after the Pullman strikes, the company's
Get his ass.
were once again band together to fight for better treatment.
In 1925, the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters was created, led by A.
Where's that?
Their motto, appropriately, was fight or be slaves.
The nation's first African-American trade union fought for better conditions and wage increases, changing its members' lives forever.
Many of the porters were well esteemed within their communities. They owned homes, they sent their children to school and to colleges. They became a part of the American middle class.
The influence of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters would soon be felt across the nation.
A. Philip Randolph would also work with the young Dr. Martin Luther King, helping organize his march on D.C. when King would give the famous I Have a Dream speech.
But by the time of Dr. King's speech in 1963, the Pullman Company's star was on the way.
Across America during the 1950s and 60s, the car...
Shit, they made it seem like I was supposed to go on the thing.
It wasn't called anymore for the rolling hotels.
The Pullman factory finally shut in 1969 and was vacant for decades.
And regrettably, there was an arson fire in 1998. The clock tower collapsed, the bell that was in it melted. Fire caught to the front erecting shops on the south side and took them down.
Many parts of the old factory and company town still lie in ruin. Today, this model town and factory, which once stood alone on the prairie, has become just another neighborhood on Chicago's south side. But one Chicagoan has not forgotten about George Pullman's company town.
President Obama
Oh,
used
shit.
a law called Antiquities
Damn,
Act,
twin.
and was able to create a National Park Service unit called Pullman National Monument.
President Obama has a personal connection to this site.
Pullman porters helped push forward our rights to vote and to work and live as equals. One of those porters, great-granddaughter, had the chance to go into a great college and a great law school. Had the chance to climb the ladder of success. And I know that because today she's the First Lady of the United States of America, Michelle Obama.
Since 2015, efforts have been made to maintain and repair many of the historic buildings in the Pullman town. The clock tower was restored after the devastating fire and has been turned into a visitor center so future generations may learn about how this town changed the nation.
Labor issues, government regulation, manufacturing, capitalism, the balance of all of these powers are still playing out in the American economy and the lives of Americans today.
In the Empire State, there's a group of buildings whose horrors led to a new hope.
When I first came here, we went into the big building, and the first thing that hit you when you walked in the door was this incredible stench. It's almost like a kind of living death to be here.
We are in the beautiful Hudson River Valley, about 45 miles north of New York City. We see a sprawling complex of buildings, well made of stone, kind of a neoclassical style.
There are lots of strange signs of habitation, like play equipment and multiple basketball hoops, far more than any ordinary town would need.
To the west of the site, a copse of trees hides a ghostly secret.
We come to these
Why is the song so low? What the hell?
signs that look almost like crosses. This is a cemetery.
For some, this place offered a reprieve.
This was a facility that maintained life 24 hours a day and provided love to those who needed it.
But for many who called these buildings home, the dream turned into a nightmare.
Eczema
always obvious.
Weak ass interior.
Always red. But now, eczema isn't always going to stop you. With Eblis. Eblis is a once-monthly treatment to help those with moderate to severe eczema find real itch relief and real results. Like skin that's still more clear at 1 year.
Don't use if you're allergic to Eblis. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Eblis. Before starting Eblis, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Skin that's still more clear, even at 1 year? Clearly, it's possible with Eblis.
Talk to your doctor about Eblis for eczema.
Oh, it's mesmerizing.
I can't look away.
Cleaning that greasy mess.
Oh shit.
Scrubbing.
Fluff my feathers.
Damn, what my woman on track. I ain't got one.
Grease better than their old dish soap. Platinum breaks down the slimy stuff it would leave behind, removing 99% of basic food residue. That's why only Dawn is trusted to save wildlife. I'd fly south for a clean like that.
Dawn Platinum, the better grease getter.
Oh, what the hell? That's why.
Just north of New
Oh
York
my
City,
gosh.
a set of buildings lie abandoned. Reverend Mark Lukens knows them well.
Okay. I get it now.
10 miles from here.
Damn, no snacks available.
Beautiful campus that looked like a university or something. I came here for training,
Well.
and it would seem like it was deserted. You never saw the people who lived here.
Mark came here to help residents with developmental and physical disabilities. And this site was built to revolutionize how they were treated.
Shit, you might as well just.
The idea of putting people out of sight, out of mind, into these sort of high-rise asylums.
First opening its doors in 1911, this 130-building campus was the vision of a man ahead of his time.
William Pryor Lecter.
Like, damn, bro.
A great man. He was a person who was very.
Why is it? I'm gonna just get on it
People
then.
in those days were called morons and idiots and imbeciles.
Thanks to his role on the State Board of Charities, William Letchworth ended up visiting a lot of asylums, and he was shocked and horrified.
Shit, I should have just did this shit the first time.
Imprisoned, kept away from their family.
He had a dream of taking a beautiful scenic spot.
Who the fuck blew me up?
A town for people with mental disabilities where they could live and be safe.
Damn.
William
What the
Letchworth
fuck is that?
convinced New York State to act on his vision. This 2,300-acre campus is
Hell no. Get that shit.
But before construction could be completed,
What the fuck is that?
Letchworth died just a year before the facility opened, and so he wasn't able to
I'm
see
hitting it. This shit ain't doing no damage. Like,
even without its champion, Letchworth Village began enriching the lives of its patients.
bro, what the
Albert
fuck?
Aldrich first worked here in 1964, age 17, and stayed for the next 3 decades.
The goal was to provide as much of normalcy as one.
How am I supposed to fight this shit and keep blowing me up?
They loved working on the farms.
It was supposed to help them with the community, help them to learn skills.
To enrich their lives, the patients also learned sewing, gardening, and toy making. But the success of these schemes would become the facility's downfall. As news
This
spread
is
into
straight
the network,
BS, bro. I know I'm not
demand for
tripping.
places grew.
Then they keep respawning me by the one that don't work. Like, yo, not slick.
And soon they couldn't let the people out anymore.
I mean, at one point, there were over 3,000 patients here. So that was the biggest problem. There was also a lack of staff.
This shit mind blowing.
The low staff numbers and swelling patient population meant outdoor
Oh, this I shoot their ass.
to a halt. And in the 1960s,
Take out the
authorities
helicopter.
shut the farm.
The patients weren't being paid for work.
Damn, I should've got some snacks. I didn't even know that.
There were people.
Oh my gosh. Every time I get right there, I keep dying,
With
bro.
the patients now stuck indoors, Letchworth Village had become the very thing it had set out to end. It's something Mark experienced firsthand.
Everything was done in the most dehumanizing way. Nobody wore their own clothes.
Get on there. Hurry up. This nigga going slow as fuck. As if we didn't take us 10, 15 minutes to get here in the first fucking place.
They would then remain in that cottage pretty much all day.
It's weekend, bro. Get on. Get on.
In fact, the staff interacted with them.
Out of public view for decades, the residents suffered silently. But in 1965, there was a glimmer of hope.
New York Senator Robert Kennedy became very concerned about facilities like that. Conducted a tour across the state to see what was really going on. Kennedy was horrified by what he found.
Straight.
In an impassioned plea to the American people, Kennedy proclaimed that the horrors he'd seen bordered on a snake pit.
Robert Kennedy talked about the crisis in these facilities, but not a lot of change happened. The sad reality is out of sight, out of mind, so it's easy for the public to forget it.
Yet just 7 years later, another visit would throw the future of Letchworth Village into doubt.
Have you heard the story? It's about a guy who lives in a bank that is real close by. The Capital One Cafe is his home, no doubt, where customers bank and get their cash out. There's no fees or minimum, so your money stays. Both cafes are open all 7 days.
All 7 days?
This magical place, as some people might call it, is where the Capital One Bank guy says, what's in your wallet?
The fuck is this shit at? Damn.
Tinselmatic. 1.5% cash back-o-matic. It's Grease Lightning.
Damn, bro. This show is off the way, isn't it?
What's in your wallet?
Snow Mini Deals, Snow Little Time. Target's last minute deals are here. Get stocking stuffers and gifts for everyone on your list. Don't miss Target's last minute deals, all under $20. And don't wait. Deals end soon.
In Letchworth Village, New York, Senator Robert Kennedy had failed to stop the patient's suffering. But life here was about to be thrown into chaos with the visit of an ambitious young reporter.
1972, Geraldo Rivera visited various institutions, including this one, with his TV cameras.
He purposely shows up 2 hours early with his crew. And what does he find? He finds exactly what he feared, is that the people are terribly treated, and he exposes this all to the world.
Suddenly, on the 6 o'clock news, you could see the horror. People in big open rooms with nothing to do.
After Geraldo's expose, everything began to change.
What happened was the idea that these institutions were just bad. There was a movement for deinstitutionalization, to let these people out of these facilities.
A dehumanizing system is changed by the fact that people looked at it and said, those are human beings. That could be my son. That could be my daughter. And we're going to change this, damn it.
Over the following decades, as a reaction to the horrors seen here, people with developmental disabilities were no longer locked away, and the population of Letchworth Village dropped. Until, in 1996, it shut its doors for good. Nearly 30 years on, the majority of the campus still lies abandoned.
Damn, this shit show is far.
Have been given a new lease of life by a neighboring town.
Some of the buildings have been restored and reused as government offices.
Oh,
There are
shit.
plans to restore others as housing.
While many of the buildings have been adapted for their new roles, today attitudes towards disabled people are still evolving, as we learn from the suffering of the patients of Letchworth Village.
It was a terrible place, but the horror sparked a revolution that changed for the better the lives of tens of thousands of people.
On California's coast, one building saw global conflict come to the shores of the United States.
Santa Barbara is one of the most beautiful coastal cities in California. It is sought after for its resorts, its hotels, but it also has just excellent real estate.
But one property stands out from the rest.
Traveling down this road, out of nowhere, this distinguished looking building appears.
For a building so modest, what happened here had a monumental impact.
They wanted to make a statement, and they spent a lot of time and effort on making it special. This was their way of showing appreciation and making something that they could be proud of.
There are hints near and far to what this place was.
Just down the road, there seems to be some kind of oil-related infrastructure. And off into the distance in the ocean, you can see some kind of structure out there. But what we don't know is how they're all connected.
And a legendary tale has consumed this area for decades.
Even though the building may be small, what happened here is huge. This is where global conflict reached American shores.
Tom Meduno has lived here all his life and is proud of his town's history.
If you look on the side of the hill there, you can see a big cactus patch. That has been there for 100 years. And we call that Kate's cactus. The reason is Kate Din Bell was the woman that owned this ranch at one time. She said, if you drill where that cactus grows, you will become rich beyond your wildest dreams. And she was right.
California was synonymous with the gold rush in the 1800s, but by the turn of the century, there was a new product that was interesting people: black gold, oil.
And this place proved to be a black gold mine. This is the Elwood oil field.
It was one of the largest oil fields in California. It was even the most productive oil field in the world at one point, producing over 100 million barrels of oil in 3 decades.
And this is the flagship building of the company that once owned this whole oil field. This is the Barnesdale Rio Grande gas station.
So it opened in 1929, and they chose this location because of its proximity to the original oil field, but also this was the main highway. This was Highway 1. It was quite a gathering spot for the community. Everybody out here, all the farmers and stuff, this would be the place to meet and, you know, catch up on the gossip.
These oil fields were so large, they extended beyond the shore.
The whole look of the whole coast changed dramatically in a very short period of time. by the late 1930s, this whole coastline was just covered with pier after pier after pier.
And Platform Holly was built to exploit this resource.
At the time, Holly had some of the deepest oil wells in the world, reaching oil deposits as far down as 3,500 feet and stretching 10,000 feet to the north, east, and west.
But in 1942, a secret attack would turn the whole nation's attention to this quiet oil field.
Welcome to Times Square. Ganito mo, Taiwan, tingnan mo Chichi. I knew you were gonna like this. Anderson looks like a soldier, and I'm clutching my pearl. This is an incredible community that we built up together. You're here with us, and we are with you. Have it up, everybody! It's New Year's Eve!
Live coverage starts at 8 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
During the 1940s, the Barnesdale Rio Grande gas station was supplying fuel to drivers on California's main coastal highway. But a very different vehicle would throw this place into chaos.
It was February 23rd, 1942, and a short time after Pearl Harbor. California was already very tense. Everybody was gathered around the radios listening to President Roosevelt's fireside chat.
At around 7 p.m. that night, a 365-foot Japanese submarine made its way silently up the Santa Barbara Channel and stopped off the coast of Elwood.
The commander of the submarine, Kozo Nishino, who was apparently familiar with Elwood, ordered his crew to fire the deck guns for 20 minutes.
There were shells flying everywhere, but luckily, they missed the gas station.
This was the first time mainland America was directly attacked during World War II.
All of California was in panic mode, and that next night it was full blackout. Everybody had to keep the lights off.
But this sneak attack would be followed by something much more dramatic.
On February 24th, several hours after the initial attack on Elwood, the American military was alerted to enemy activity 120 miles west of LA. Air raid sirens sounded and troops took to their posts. More than 1,400 shells were fired in the space of a few hours. It was chaos.
But when the all clear sounded, there were no signs of downed Japanese aircraft.
Troops had spent hours firing at what they thought was the enemy, but it turned out they'd been shooting at a weather balloon.
Luckily, the impact of what came to be known as the Battle of Los Angeles was superficial and was put down to war nerves. Yet in the aftermath of the bombardment of Elwood, many questioned why this small town was singled out to wreak havoc on America.
The story goes that Kozo Nishino was the captain of a Japanese oil tanker, stopped at the Elwood oil fields for refueling.
Nishino took
Bro,
a
these is
stroll
weak as
along
fuck.
Elwood's beach and spotted an unusual-looking cactus. Determined to take a cutting back home, he climbed the fence that surrounded it.
According to the story, while climbing this fence, he lost his footing and fell head first into this cactus.
A group of local oil workers watched and laughed as Nishino struggled in the thorny cactus patch.
Nishino is mortified, and from that moment, he vows to seek revenge.
According to legend, World War II grants Nishino his opportunity as he is chosen to command a submarine. His attack on Elwood was retribution for his earlier humiliation.
Bro, none of these go with this.
Now, all of this makes for a great story, but the reality is that there's no evidence to suggest that Nishino ever was the captain of a Japanese oil tanker, nor that he'd ever visited Elwood.
This station continued to pump gas after the war. But in 1947, the main coastal road, Highway 101, was rerouted, which completely bypassed it.
That was the beginning of the end for this being a popular gas station. This became just a road used by locals.
And in more recent years, Platform Holly has been mired in controversy.
The oil company was weathering some very serious complaints. There were concerns over fracking, but there was also a lawsuit led by famous environmental activist Aaron Brockovich.
Then, in 2015, a pipeline cracked open. 140,000 gallons of oil spilled out.
Oh, you so ass about the
And
bed.
within 24 hours, production was shut
She
down.
get spooky, spooky, she get spooky in the hood.
The Elwood oil field was a rich mine of black gold for decades. But now, these structures stand buried. Platform Holly is in the process of being decommissioned, while the Barnesdale Rio Grande gas station has been gifted to the city of Goleta.
I think it's very important that this gas station is saved because of the architecture and the effort that went into it, and also that it is a symbol of the oil industry in California. While it was an ugly period of time, it was a very important one, and this is the last sign of it that we have.
In northeastern Pennsylvania sits a structure built by a secret society which welcomed some of America's biggest stars.
When I first walked into this building, I was floored by the size of it, the architecture. Once you walk in here when it's in good shape, you'll never forget it.
In downtown Wilkes-Barre, this relic of the region's glory days sits abandoned.
What's really unusual about this building is that with its domes and its structures, the architecture would suggest it is a mosque. The thing is, on the banks of Susquehanna in Wilkes-Barre, would we expect to see a mosque of that size?
You can tell that it's seen better days. There are tiles missing from the spires, and there's grass and moss growing out of different parts of the building.
You can see that it cost a fortune to build, and that makes its current state of disrepair all the more poignant.
Inside, the decay continues.
When you come to this building, it is really
This should already played our tripper.
And then you start to see that the plaster's crumbling, and there's dust and cobwebs throughout.
But some strange clues to the building's origins remain.
On one of the walls is a plaque with a bunch of names on it, and it says, "To the memory of nobles."
He sees the good in everyone. I see the truth.
Holidays are hard to celebrate if you're hungry. And today, 1 in 5 kids in America live with hunger.
With your help, we can change that.
Oh shit.
Join Warner Brothers Discovery and their partners in combating food security.
So all kids get what they need to celebrate, grow, and thrive.
Text HUNGRY to 707070 to help keep hunger out of the holidays.
In Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, a mysterious building holds secrets known to very few men. Mark Bettler is one of them.
Bro, why they
Well, the
hating,
building
bro?
was built
The intent was to make it the most impressive in the United States, and that dream was realized.
Construction began in 1907, at a time when Wilkes-Barre's prospects were very different to what they are today.
Move! Oh my gosh, bro, y'all dumb as fuck. Damn.
And not just any coal, but
Almost had them off me. Y'all want to sit there and act dumb.
black diamond.
The key thing with anthracite is that it burns
That's what I get for playing,
more
bro.
constant than coal, which during the industrial period of the United States was essential.
The black diamond gave Wilkes-Barre more millionaires than anywhere in America. And many would join the elite ranks of one of the country's most prestigious organizations. A group who left their mark on this building.
The clue for what this building may have been used for is above the doorway. There's an acronym, AAONMS.
What those letters mean is the ancient Arabic order of the nobles of the mystic shrine. We are also known as Shriners.
Some of the most powerful men in the country were part of this secretive group. And this building served as their Wilkes-Barre headquarters for almost a century. This is the Hiram Temple.
We are in a shrine building. This is my Shriner's head garb. It's called a fez. I hope it's on straight.
The shrine
I don't think I edited this card, bro. This
President Franklin Roosevelt,
this look a little weak. I ain't
John
gonna lie.
Wayne, and Duke Ellington. This was one of the organization's flagship temples, and their secrets are still held within its walls.
The ceremonials we used to have here were just filled with pomp and pageantry. It's something that stays with you forever.
Despite the clandestine nature of the events that took place here, it's known that they had roots in another secret society.
Oh my gosh.
The Freemasons.
In 1870, a group of Masons decided to form a new fraternity, with the tenets of Freemasonry still in place, but with the added spirit of fun at its heart.
But a voyage across the Atlantic gave the group an unexpected theme.
One of their members, an actor known as Billy Florence, had been on a trip to Europe and went to a party hosted by an Arab diplomat.
He witnessed all these beautiful turbans, these beautiful gowns, and came back and reported to
Shit,
the
don't mind if I do.
theme that we want to adopt because it's mystic.
Today, this Eastern influence can still be seen in the crumbling ruins of the Hiram Temple. It's where Shriners in the Wilkes-Barre area began their journey into the Brotherhood.
Tens of thousands of Shriners have actually gone through the initiation process.
Take that down.
Behind me in front of thousands of their fellow Shriners.
Bro, get, oh my gosh, get up. Damn, bro, you so annoying, man.
With a copy of the Quran.
Many ceremonies took place in this building that were secretive to the point where no one was allowed in.
Bro, are you dead serious right now, bro?
Yet this temple offered far more than just these clandestine.
Bro, let me out of here. What the fuck?
The Shriners opened this building to the public because we are a community-based organization.
Everything from school proms to rock concerts to Star Wars convention were featured in this building. Even local religious organizations used it.
But the Hiram Temple also got national recognition.
Shit, I thought that shit was done for. I'm about to be like, damn.
Biggest stars to perform in this state-of-the-art 1,400-seat auditorium.
Tammy Wynette did a concert here, and probably the most famous person that stood on the stage behind me was Bob Hope.
Gershwin did one of the first performances of Rhapsody in Blue here. Rachmaninoff, probably the most famous piano player in history, did a performance here.
The acoustics in this building are incredible. I could whistle now and they could hear me in the minute.
Despite the acoustics and star names, near the end of the 21st century, the Iram Temple faced new competition.
Oh.
A new theater was built nearby in 1986, and with the interest waning for large music and performance venues, the place just fell out of use.
In 2002, the Iram Temple shut its doors for good.
The way we felt when we shut the doors was not a good feeling. We felt horrible. Guys were shaking their heads. It was depressing.
That was uncalled for.
Today, over 2 decades since the Iram Temple shut, there are plans to bring it back to life. Mark is part of the restoration group.
The main role here at the Iram Temple Restoration Project is to be the key link between the actual temple project and the Shriners. I love the role, and it's very gratifying.
Bro,
They want to reopen this
get y'all dumbass away from me.
There's also a museum to
No.
their history in part of the facility.
Tell you what, when this building is finished, when I walk into this place, I don't know how I'm going to hold back my emotions.
Have you heard the story? It's about a guy who lives in a Capital One cafe close by. There's no fees or minimum, so your money stays. All cafes are open all 7 days. What's in your mind?
Abandoned structures hold the secrets of America's past. A 2-mile-high ghost town, which fostered generations of heroes.
When I first discovered this beautiful area, I was inspired by the fortitude of the people that had to live out here.
A place of entertainment, which saw a deadly massacre.
It's a secret that they keep locked up in the box, and they don't expose it.
And a network of tunnels which served the schemes of Los Angeles.
LA has always been a sunny place for shady people, because people here were very resourceful, they were very clever, they liked to have a good time.
Scattered across the United States are abandoned structures. Forgotten ruins of the past. Monuments to a bygone era. Each shines a light on the story of this land and its people. These are the secrets of hidden America. In a town 70 miles north of Charleston lies a building which saw a defining moment in the fight for racial equality.
It's very hard to do anything when you're feeling like a second-class citizen. Or you're feeling like you're not wanted after 70-some odd years. I have been through all of that.
We're in a small town in South Carolina. This is a pretty deprived area and remains among the 10% of worst areas in the whole country.
This is a deep South, majority African-American town, but racial tension has long simmered under the surface.
Inside one storefront, there's reminders of a troubled past.
Inside, it's devastating. Part of the roof was come down, and it makes you wonder, for how many decades has this place been derelict?
There are still personal items in the lockers. Why did their owners collect them?
Look at all those bowling shoes. Look at those long wooden lanes. This was obviously a bowling alley. But what happened here that was so terrible that it was left in a state?
What occurred here over half a century ago would foreshadow terrible events across the nation.
America's terrible history of racial violence left us with far too many familiar stories, but there's still a handful of really important ones that have been lost to sight altogether.
This bowling alley, a place of leisure, became a place of pain. A pain that Cleveland Sellers knows only too well.
It occurred because it was black students, and black students' lives don't matter. And you see that slogan, but that's real for a lot of people.
South Carolina, along with deep South states like Mississippi, were really centers of racial tension in the 1960s.
I'm gonna do that.
These were very, very segregated communities.
At the beginning of 1968, America hadn't really settled down after the long hot summer of 1967. There had been great racial unrest and riots across cities, including Atlanta, Newark, Detroit, really across the country.
What transpired here would shock this small town, yet would barely register on a national scale. This is the All-Star Bowling Lanes in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
Orangeburg was very special to black students who were interested in higher education. If you ever got an opportunity to go, that's where you would go.
Orangeburg was home to 2 historically black universities, but power in this town was still exclusively in white hands.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 had said that every American space needed to be desegregated, but of course not every American public space followed that law.
By 1968, almost all the public buildings in Orangeburg were officially desegregated, with the exception of hospitals, doctor's offices, and Harry Floyd's bowling alley.
The segregation of this place was significant because during the 1960s, bowling was at the height of its popularity.
Bowling was popular no matter what color you were. In fact, during the 1960s, there was an African-American women's national champion.
What nigga get on the damn thing?
One invention would usher in bowling's golden age.
And what really made the difference here was the automatic pin setter. Back in the old days, you had to have a person run out between every bowl and reset the pins.
This led to the number of bowling alleys in the United States peaking at 12,000 during the 1960s, which is really a staggering number.
This was America's game for a while, and the sport was so popular that President Nixon even had a bowling alley installed in the White House.
But in 1968, Orangeburg's African-American population was still not allowed to go bowling.
Harry Floyd did something the Civil Rights Act said all public facilities had to be desegregated. So what he was able to do is he was able to put a sign in the glass doorway saying members only.
Students from South Carolina State University led a protest against the segregation of this bowling alley in February 1968, changing this small town forever.
The events at Orangeburg took place over several nights, but the first couple of nights, the bowling alley was really the focus.
On the first night, around 40 students enter the bowling alley, but they leave peacefully.
A group of African-American students returned the next night, but this time, the authorities knew they were coming.
But there were a whole host of highway patrol in there, and they pushed back against the door, and pushing back and forth caused the glass in the door just to fall out. what happened next was that the police went outside and they opened up the trunks of the cars and they got this little baton and they just waded in.
The police responded immediately with violence. This bowling alley, which was supposed to be a place of enjoyment and fun, had become a site of violent conflict.
Around a dozen students were hospitalized, but the beatings at the bowling alley would not be the end of the violence. It was only the beginning.
After the beatings, the students submit a list of demands. They call for integration and the ending of discrimination within the community. The governor of South Carolina at the time, Robert McNair, responded by calling the National Guard.
There was a tank parked in front of the house, and the muzzle was just pointed in that general direction.
With the National Guard in town and hundreds of protesting students, the city of Orangeburg was in tinderbox.
Make that 3 with the Capital One Saver card. You earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment. 3% cash back on salty, 3% cash back on sweet. You know, it's 3 hours, right? Good call.
Are you in this one?
Yeah, I'm in this one. Yeah, just turn this off my 3% cash back. Perfect delivery. What's in your wallet?
Snow mini deals, snow little time. Target's last minute deals are here. Get stocking stuffers and gifts for everyone on your list. Don't miss Target's last minute deals, all under $20. And don't wait, deals end soon.
On February 6, 1968, many students were brutally beaten by police for protesting the racial segregation of this bowling alley. 2 nights later, on the campus of South Carolina State,
come on, twin, really?
Students found themselves facing off against armed highway patrolmen.
A wooden banister was thrown towards the police, and there were rumors of a sniper.
Some officer from the highway patrolman got hit by a piece of wood, and some of the police said that he was shot. They decided to use lethal force against these students, unarmed students. They were in an open field. It was almost like shooting fish in a barrel.
It was a massacre. Almost 30 people were wounded in the shooting, most of whom fell back as they were running away from gunfire.
3 African-American teenagers were killed. High school student Delano Middleton and South Carolina State undergraduates Samuel Hammond Jr. and Henry Smith.
The gunfire went off, and it was timed at about 8 to 10 seconds, but it sounded like it was forever. I got hit on the left side as I was going down. I just did a spread eagle and just hit the ground.
After a trial, all of the highway patrolmen who opened fire were acquitted. The only person convicted
First charge that they talk about
was Cleveland Sellers, who spent 7 months in prison for incitement to riot. He has since been granted a pardon.
The Orangeburg Massacre is, in fact, the litmus test for race relations in the state of South Carolina. Everything else is related to that in some way. That police were allowed to just go in and kill people, and nothing has been done.
Orangeburg was the nation's first campus massacre, but it would not be the last. 2 years later, students were gunned down by law enforcement and National Guardsmen at both Kent State and Jackson State universities.
Yo.
we didn't learn our lesson.
That's
We
crazy.
avoided all of that. You don't put police with loaded guns on the campus. You just don't do that.
It's incredible to think that this happened 2 years before the shootings at Kent State. And you have to ask yourself, why is that one famous?
Bro, every song they play it like twice. But I'm gonna let this play because this is my
You can't
song.
help but wonder whether or not race plays a factor.
This is my jam for sure.
2 weeks after the massacre, a local court decided the 1964 Civil Rights Act applied to the bowling alley. Harry Floyd complied, opened his doors to all, and 10 years later, 1/3 of his customers were African American. The bowling alley kept much of its 1960s decor, but closed soon after the turn of the century. Today, one organization, led by Ellen Zischholz, has stepped in to preserve the memory of what happened here.
This building of remembrance, we're going to restore it. It will be preserved for history. It will be preserved in commemoration of the students that were killed and wounded. But it will also be something positive for the future. If you don't preserve your history, you lose your civilization.
Bringing communities together is what we have to be concerned about. But we have to tell the truth about our past.
I mean, where we going?
In the Mountain States, a town that sparked a sporting revolution became a crucial cog in America's war machine.
We're in the Colorado Rockies, a place that is known for its adventure and its wildlife.
Among the snowdrifts and pine trees, the remains of abandoned structures stand out.
It looks like an old Wild West film set. But this site is almost 10,000 feet up. It's freezing, it's isolated. Why anyone would build anything here is a mystery to me.
Most of the buildings we see are simple wooden shacks, a door, a few windows, or roof.
These buildings are the remnants of an American hero's dream.
This iconic young
Gotta be
gentleman,
right here.
he planted the seed here that really revolutionized the Rocky Mountains.
Despite facing tragedy, when the world fell into war, this town stepped up.
Soldiers learned skills here that were instrumental in defeating Hitler. Skills that could only be learned in
This is my jam too, for sure, for sure.
Welcome to Times Square.
Derecho mío, alemán, England, Chichi.
I knew you were gonna like this. Anderson looks like a soldier, and I'm clutching my pride. This is an incredible community that's been built up together. We're here with us, and we are with you. Have it up, everybody. It's New Year's Eve.
My coverage starts at 8 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
Holidays are hard to celebrate if you're hungry. And today, 1 in 5 kids in America live with hunger.
With your help, we can change that. This holiday season, join Warner Brothers Discovery and their partners in combating food insecurity.
So all kids get what they need to celebrate, grow, and thrive.
Text HUNGRY to 707070 to help keep hunger out of the holidays.
This town sits almost 2 miles high in the Rockies. Nina Gabbianelli first
I was about to say, what the fuck? Did a car just spawn on the highway?
and has been hooked ever since.
When I first came out to this valley and found these cluster of cabins, I was overwhelmed by the idea that people lived out here. in the middle of what to me looks like wilderness.
With temperatures dropping to below minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit, these peaks and valleys were once part of the untrodden Wild West. But in 1877, this changed dramatically.
In search of silver, the U.S. Geological Survey mapped out the region and proclaimed that it could be the treasure vault of America.
There was silver proven in these mountains, and land was available, free for the taking. So hundreds of men began to come into this area to prospect.
A settlement was formed across the valley. By 1883, its population had swelled to 2,000. This is Ashcroft.
Ashcroft was complete with courthouse, dance hall, 20 saloons. They did kind of forget the churches, but living out here was not as conducive to family life, let's put it that way.
Yet, as quickly as Ashcroft grew, it went bust.
The silver deposits were found to be rather shallow, and Ashcroft went into decline rather quickly.
By the turn of the 20th century, it appeared Ashcroft was destined for the history books. But in 1936, everything changed when a sporting icon came to town.
Billy Fisk was a driver for the U.S. bobsled team. He won 2 gold medals in the Winter Olympics. The first in 1928, the second in 1932.
Billy Fisk was a huge celebrity, and he probably would have won a 3rd Olympic gold, but he refused to go to the 36 Olympics because they were held in Nazi Germany.
While missing out on the 36 Olympics, Fisk turned his attention to bringing the latest sporting trend to America.
In the 1930s, downhill skiing started in the Alps of Central Europe and was this new,
Low-key making me nervous.
sport.
It was associated with European royalty, the glitz, the glamour. But then you add to it this thrill-seeking, the adrenaline, the speed of downhill skiing. It was a true luxury sport.
On the hunt for a spot to build a resort for downhill skiing, Fisk visited the dwindling town of Ashcroft.
When he came to this area, he fell in love with this beautiful valley. And his team purchases an immense amount of land, and they concoct a ski plan with lift system devised all around this mountain range.
But the full resort would never be completed. In 1939, World War II broke out in Europe, over 2 years before America entered the conflict.
This is an important moment for Billy Fisk because he has deep connections to Britain. He's married an English countess, and he feels morally obliged to go and fight on the side of the Allies.
With America neutral, Fisk had to find a novel way to fight the Nazis.
Billy Fisk actually joined the Royal Air Force by lying and saying that he was a Canadian citizen.
On July 12, 1940, Fisk gets called into action in the Battle of Britain.
The Battle of Britain is one of the epic battles of the Second World War. And Billy Fisk fought in one of the most famous planes at the time, the Hurricane. It's just going to be non-stop. You can imagine
Alright, so it's about that time for self. About to hop off here, get ready for
3
tomorrow.
months and 3 weeks after the battle began,
If I don't be on here tomorrow, I'll be on here Friday for sure. The camera's over here. Oh, I'm like, why do it look like that? Because the camera fell back. But yeah, if I don't be on here tomorrow, I'll be on here for Friday for
In
sure.
August of 1940, Fisk's plane was shot down. He succumbed to his
Everybody
injuries
be
the next
safe.
day.
Have a good night and don't let the
Billy
bed
Fisk was
go.
one of the